Thank you, Dr. Tim. It's been a great conversation. I got lost in it and didn't realize the time was up. So,
well, have a wonderful show.
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Wednesday, April the 28th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And, Susan, I think it's a perfect example, though, of and there's no apology needed. I understand where you're coming from and wanting to express the truth. But, you know, like you said, and you worded it perfectly, if your eyes had just fell upon the book, that was still a miracle that it popped up right when you needed it. Or so, you know, that whether it just fell over or fell off the desk or your eyes just fell upon it, either way, I think it's still an awesome miracle. There's actually a song that Michael and I listened to. I can't think of the name of it right now. Michael, you're on with us. What's the one where it says, and now everything is a miracle?
Say it again. Say it again.
The song that we listened to where the guy says, and now everything is a miracle.
Oh, that's... everything's a miracle.
Yeah. Is that the name of it?
I think it is. Give me just a second. Let me look here. I have it.
So while you're looking for it, what we're talking about, and Susan, I'll let you tell it. So go ahead. It's awesome.
Michael, yes, I feel as if I have only half confessed. I confessed to Dr. Tim, and I'm confessing to you now that I stretched a truth. You know, when we were doing that amazing work, what?
Oh, you stretched the truth. Oh, my God. I'm going to have to do worksheets on that.
Well, to the point where it was a lie. And it was about the book that fell off the shelf. It didn't fall off the shelf. It had been propped up against a pile of books ready to take to a sale, and it belongs to a friend, so it didn't want to go to the sale. It wanted to go to my friend. My eyes fell on the book, and I said, "Oh, Michael, amazing. The book fell off the shelf." That wasn't true. My eyes fell on the book. My eyes fell on it, not the book fell.
Kind of similar.
Anyway, yeah, well, not similar enough. And, you know, I've known this since I did it. I thought, oh, crap, what am I doing? I'm just making this more glorious than it is. It's good enough as it is. It's plenty good enough. It's great as it is. What am I doing? But I woke up last night and I thought I just better come clean. So end of confession.
And I told her whether it didn't matter whether the book fell off the shelf and was a miracle or whether her eyes fell on the book. Either way, everything is a miracle, and that's why I was asking about that song.
Right. So the song is Peter Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R, Holy Now. Peter Mayer. It's awesome. Awesome piece of music.
Nice.
And he starts off with, you know, when he was a boy going to church and, you know, listening to the priest and the holy word and, you know, like there were no miracles then. And he laments how, you know, why don't miracles happen now? And then all of a sudden he moves into, I got it. It's all a miracle. It's a pretty sweet piece of music. I think Dr. Tim actually introduced it on the show maybe 2 years ago or so. He had come across it somewhere.
I just put a link to it in our notes for today, too.
Good. Thanks, Jeannie. I was
cool.
hoping you'd do that.
Sweet. So what else is exciting in your world, young lady? Besides now you've done confession, and I guess that now makes us officially priests, right?
Right. I do want exoneration, but it uncovers a habit. I stretch, I shape. I mean, some of it is good. If you write an opera, you have to tell a story. And if you tell the story, you have to make the story interesting. And usually it's interesting, but there's a little zing, there's a little something that sometimes is needed to add to it. Or when people make a movie out of a book or a biography, it says as based on. What does that mean? It means the story is based on this life, but it's why. To make it dramatic enough to be valid as a theater piece. But then in personal life, we do it for other reasons. I do it to be pleasing, to be sensational, to be impressive, to be better than, to
keep yourself in suffering.
What? I didn't hear that.
To keep yourself in suffering.
I'm not aware of the suffering. I'm aware of being so puffed up sometimes that I couldn't possibly get through a doorway. But it doesn't always end up like that. It ends up maybe that's where the suffering comes in, is afterwards the shame of it.
Well, well, my offering is I've watched you use that very technique, and this would be one of the best reasons I could think of for quote unquote confessing it, to get it out and get a look at, is that I've seen you puff things up to make you bad or wrong.
Whoa.
To drag you down into pain and suffering. Oh, look, here I am doing it again.
Yeah.
Have you ever observed yourself doing that?
Yeah.
So that would be the place to really be willing to confess it and throw it away. You know, a little embellishment here and then can be fun and useful, but when you start using it to beat yourself up, that's when it really needs to be confronted and as a habit of mind and removed.
Okay, I'll take that and stick it in there. This has been, I didn't mean to push one, except I really wanted to make that confession, but this has been the most, and I'm thinking, I was going to say I'm jealous. I was wishing that I had a partner in crime here to do the breathing even, and to be taken through the process. The process seems to take care of itself anyway, I'm glad to say. And I think I'm getting maybe where I need to go, but it's been messy and indecisive, and I love it when you say you can't figure it out, don't try to figure it out. And the best part of reviewing the still point breathing instructions you gave in the last intensive was that you go there with no goal. You go there knowing nothing and with no intention except to just do it. I never heard that before, Michael.
Yeah, it's not about producing an outcome. It's about opening the space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, literally, I mean, how many times have you heard me say it? Be out of your mind. Be out of your mind. To heal, you got to be out of your mind. The breath does a masterful job of taking us out of our minds. And if you make it a goal, then the mind will keep going, yeah, are we out of our mind yet? Are we out of our mind yet? And you just engage it. So it's like,
right,
let it go.
Of course.
Let it go and just let it open. Yeah.
Competitive, too. So when somebody says, I saw purples and golds, and I had this great insight about my uncle, and I did this, I'm sitting there thinking, damn it all, and that's where the self-beating. I didn't get that. I kept swallowing, as a matter of fact. I kept closing my mouth to undry it up and stuff like that. And oh, my God, the whole thing has to go. Oh, what a relief that is.
Yeah. That's one of those embellishments. So you can say to yourself, that's what I do to myself. And I can let that go. That's one of the places where that confession is going to serve you, because you can let go of that and not have to do that one anymore, where it leads you down a path that isn't about your light and your love and your healing, your presence.
Well, Dr. Tim has got an evil streak, because he started chuckling. And I thought I was confessing this big, important thing, and he was chuckling. Now, I like that he did that, but at the time I thought, what? This isn't funny. Yeah.
Well, there's another one of those embellishments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, this is about me being whatever word it is, bad, wrong, evil, whatever. This isn't funny. Well, when you do it to yourself, it's good for a laugh, but it's created a lot of suffering, so it's really an important dynamic to let go of.
Well, thanks.
If you're going to embellish,
on.
always embellish toward into the arena of love.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good place to start.
Yay, for sure. For sure. And how's that young man Tim doing?
Tim Bingham, I don't know where he is. He's doing well. We just co-direct. Oh, Michael's asking how you are. Oh, he's having a nap. Oh, my goodness. Sorry.
Oh, don't wake him up.
James, go back to sleep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's doing well. Doing well.
You just finished directing a...
Well, we had our Zoom group, and it's been terrific. It's just been a good group. It's great. That's all.
The Mind Shifters group?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And he's
Sweet.
good.
Awesome.
It's good.
Awesome.
There. Yeah,
all right, young lady. Well, anything else on your mind?
My eyes just fell on the book, and it says "The Moment of Lift." Okay, that's the truth. Yeah. All right,
cool.
Michael. No, I'll mute and listen. Thank you so much.
All right, you have a blessed one. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
Cherish you deeply. All right, well, Miss Jeannie, before I start looking at our reading for today, do you have any thoughts for us? Anything, anybody out there with a hand up in the phone queue? Anything happening in the chat room?
No, it's all quiet. Nobody has a hand up and no questions in the chat room. And I'll just say that I did finally, I don't have them all converted up to Vimeo, but Michael is buying me a new, faster hard drive. So I should be able to get all the videos done this weekend. But the links are up on the website. So,
Yeah, actually, it's taking a whole new computer. The hard drive isn't going to do the job, so we've actually ordered a whole new computer and screen and all of that to upgrade to be able to process that kind of intense data processing. So keep able to take things to a new level with all this digital work that we're doing. So that's cool. And I'm loving the feedback that we're getting on that particular recording. If you haven't listened to it, go to the notes. I'm sure Jeannie's probably pasted in there again today now that I mentioned it.
I did.
The last day or two, there is a lecture from the 48 tape series on A Course in Miracles that I did back somewhere between 35 and 40 years ago. I don't even have exact dates. And they're 50 out of, or 48 out of, I don't even know, several hundred that we have. And with the feedback we're getting, I may go back and see if the tapes are still good to be able to convert from the other couple of hundred of them and put them up online. But I'm really enjoying the feedback we're getting and how it's impacting people. So if you haven't listened to it, it's up for the next couple of weeks as a freebie to give a listen to. It's a 2-hour lecture. It's number 47, G, or number 27?
I actually, yes, and I've got the link in the notes that you can click on. It's lesson number 47 that's called Healing Our Planet. And so that's free to the listeners until May the 10th. And then all 48 are now available in the MP4 catalog, and I've put a link to that, which they'll be streaming. And they're $7 individually, and if you get the full set of 48, they're $5 each, which is $240. And if you buy the set before the May the 10th, in the next 2 weeks, then we're going to offer you the special price of $200. Now that offer is not on the website, so if you want to do the full set in the next 2 weeks, send the $200 via PayPal to family and friends. That way we're not charged a fee. And then drop a text or an email to Michael or I saying that you purchased the full set. And then as soon as I get them all up this weekend, then I will send them out.
I'm looking forward to starting to listen through the whole series. One of the things that I rarely do is listen to anything that I've recorded from the past. And I'm usually kind of wowed by it when I do listen. And this particular tape was no exception. And so thank you, Doug Bingley, by the way, if you're listening, for all the work you did to convert those. Doug took the physical cassette tapes and converted them to digital, did a beautiful job of it. And so thank you for that input, Doug. Appreciate your support. So I'm going to turn to the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And if you want to follow along, each day we're reading a small piece of the book. And let's see, we're up to page 60 out of, if I remember correctly, it's about 200. So we're a little less than a third of the way through, and this is April. Okay. So 4 times 3 will be just about right to continue through the year. That's cool. Anyway, we're on page 60 and looking at ancient wisdom, talking to Richard about I don't even know how to say it. It is so far beyond when you get back to building the brain cells about the words of Yeshua in the Aramaic language, when you go back to his original words and his original first century meanings. Of course you say, well, Michael, how do you know you've got original first century meanings? Well, of course, nobody can say that 2,000%. However, we had 25 of the top Ramesses in the world on the team working on this translation work, and one of the stated objectives was to get the most accurate first century meanings of those words that we could get. And I'm the director of the foundation that's doing that translation work now, and most of the original people that were involved in it have passed away. And I don't speak, read, or write Aramaic, and that's part of the way that the system was set up. My task in doing the work, and actually some of those 48 tapes were part of the development of this, was to take what we were learning and bring it into the laboratory of the classroom. Did it produce the result that it purported to produce? I.e., you'll notice, Yeshua, if you go back and actually listen to his words as opposed to his so-called followers, people who think they're following him, who've got all kinds of doctrines and dogmas and theories, and they're going to shove it down your throat with fear. If you won't accept it, you're going to burn forever. In the name of a man who said, I come to bring you life and bring it more abundantly. And if you engage in my work, the first and most important thing is that you function as the presence of love, that this filter in the frontal lobes of your brain opens and provides you with this presence of conscious, active love. And so my task was to take what we were decoding from the first century Aramaic, put it in the classroom. Could we produce the result of someone functioning more and more as love? Well, the prison population in the project was reduced by over 90% recidivism. I mean, it emptied the jails. It definitely produced the result. So, that was the verification that we actually had accurate information going on, that we were actually putting out accurate ideas. And, of course, that's what we're continuing to do. And so we're trying to get the point across to Richard, the character in the book, who's saying, yeah, religion, boy, that's all crap. To say, well, yeah, I got that you got some judgments and you got some pain and you got some trauma, but what's the truth about it? And so Richard is now starting to breathe a little easier. He's gone through a process of forgiveness, although it was kind of an unconscious process for him with his parents, and we point out the shift in his mind as a result of that, and point out that is the process of forgiveness. So we'll read on. I say to Richard, notice your parents were not involved in this process, and neither they nor the actualities of the past have changed. Yet you feel better. That's what he just finished saying to me. He says, I'd done an explanation. It was getting complicated for me. He says, well, I'm not sure I heard everything you said, but I feel better. I feel relieved. You're the one who's always in charge of your feelings, Richard. So no change is required of anyone but you in order for you to heal. Our natural state is happiness. I might substitute the word joy there, actually. If I were writing the book today, I would substitute the word joy for happiness. Our natural state is joy. Happiness is a dopamine rush that you get when you achieve a goal. You get something. Here's this new thing in your hands. You go, oh, I'm happy. And then when the dopamine wears off, one goes back to their old state. But our natural state is where we are connected to love and therefore live in joy. The human being is designed to feel good. Just observe the ease and joy of the child before it's impacted by our cultural insanities. And of course, we've been sharing with you for almost 3 years now the ease and the joy that we get to keep participating in with this young lady called Ari Rain, and the beauty that she brings just as her natural state. And we're here to offer that that's achievable no matter what's going on in your world when you live as a human being. Now, you may not be happy about something that happens. You may not like something that happens. You may not be getting a dopamine rush of something or with achieving a goal. But the underlying state of joy is your natural condition, and we're looking to uncover that. And the way you uncover it is by removing the cover. Removing the cover is called forgiveness. So Richard says back to me, well, you said the release process began, Michael. Does that mean it's not complete? We'll have to go through more of that pain? Richard winced as he wrapped his arms around his knees. Healing is not an event, Richard. It's a process. It takes time, and it happens in stages. You'll tend to experience your process as painful as long as you resist and want to hold on. And there's a real key in the process. Now, it's interesting, in the Aramaic language, the word Satan is quite different than our culture. The Greeks have given us this horrible creature, kind of, Dante's hell, Satan, the creature that's out to get us, this insanity that has been perpetrated in our culture as Satan. But if you were to go back and sit down and have a conversation with Satan and say, Yeshua, tell me about Satan. Tell me about this dude with the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork. He'd laugh at you, or probably laugh with you, inspire a laugh at you and say, oh, those Greeks, that's all Greek to me. That doesn't make any sense at all. That had nothing to do with what I was talking about. We know in our language what Satan is, what we mean by the word, and here's what it is. Your mind tends to be inertia-bound. Your mind tends to be locked into the realities that your culture teaches you, that your family system imposes on you, and that you buy into. And when you're invited to upgrade your perceptual constructs, when you're invited to move into a different space where you're connected to love, your mind, if you're trapped in Satan, will do this. Here's what Satan is. Your mind will say, oh, no, my true state isn't happiness right now. My true state is self-deprecation because look at the terrible thing that I've done, and go into resistance to the truth, and then mislead yourself with a story from carbon-based memory. That's Satan. So Satan is the resistor, one who misleads. Got nothing to do with the dude with the red suit, tail, and pitchfork. Just, but the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork, has been so graphically and horrifically presented, certainly is a great way to keep people in fear, the exact opposite of the objectives of the teachings of man, Yeshua. The exact opposite. And so here we have the non-being mind, which would be another definition of Satan. Satan has taken over the teachings, and now Satan is going to tell you that fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. It's like, hello? That's Satan talking. Excuse me, preacher, that's what it is. The man was here to bring us to life. The man was here to give us a direct experience of the presence of love and show us how to remove everything that didn't belong there. And now, and I said, Yeshua would say to you, over 15 times I said in the translations, at least in the King James, I said, fear not. And here now you're using that word. You're trying to get people to go into fear over my Father, our Father. Like, how ridiculous is that? But, people have sat up there and done that to people, and people have lived in such terror and trauma. Boy, if you even question it. I know there'd be people, if they cut this little section out and sent it to their preacher, that preacher would be calling me down and condemning me to hell, because he's going to use that exact tactic. And that tactic is direct from Satan, his own mind, the resistor, one who misleads. But, the terror and trauma has been inflicted on people for centuries by people who didn't have a clue what the man was actually teaching. And, Richard is a prime example of someone who has been trapped. And, we're working him through it, letting loose of. Anything that's based in hostility or fear in your mind never, ever, ever belongs there. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Did something terrible happen, quote unquote, relative to where I stand today? I may say that something terrible happened. But, step back for a moment and observe your life and look at some of the things in your past that when they happened, your mind went, oh, this is so bad, this is so terrible. And here you are, you're maybe 20 or 30 years down the road, and you look back at that event and you go, oh my God, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Oh, the wonderful results that produced. Oh, man. Well, you know something? It was just as wonderful when it happened as it is now, but notice you terrorized and traumatized yourself over it because you held some form of hostility or fear in your mind. If we could let go of that, the gifts that life delivers to us would come so much faster and so much easier. And so we're here to support the gifts that were given by this man Yeshua. The trauma that the people in that culture lived in was just outrageous, what people had bought into. And time to let it go. Time to be finished with it. And so forgiveness, we have an app for that. If you go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland, Heartland, one word, then Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness, type that in your app store, and you'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app. Thank you, Jeannie, for the awesome work you did in putting that together. It's a free download. It's a private app. It only asks for one permission. Not all this stuff we want to be able to use your dialer and your camera and record and send texts and none of that. One permission, and that is just to use the internet. When you actually do a worksheet in the app, if you want to print it and keep it as a record, then it's going to ask for one more permission, that is to write to your drive. But otherwise, we purposely constructed the app so there were no permissions required, or at least minimal, so that you could trust the fact that, whatever you put in there, you can take your deepest, darkest, dirtiest secrets, put it in there, and work with forgiveness, and you are the only one who will ever have any access to it. We have no access whatsoever to anything that goes on with that app. So you can download it free and do forgiveness there, or go to our website, whyagain.org. We've got dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of instruction on it. We've got 10 years of radio show, 5 hours a day for, about 8 of those years. And then the last 2 years, we've had 5 days a week, an hour a day for the first 8 years or so. And then the last couple of years, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So, the whole conversation's been variations on the theme about forgiveness. And so everything that we know, everything that we have about how to engage in the process and how to uncover and process through, support yourself through, support others through that process of uncovering directly the things that we've hidden from ourselves that tend to perpetrate the world of pain and fear, and how to dissolve it, how to get rid of it. So that's what we're here to do. And delighted and honored to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you. And Miss Jeannie, we're about the halfway point, so we've got 30 minutes or so left. Do we have anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all quiet. So someone press 1. Give us a topic. What do you want to talk about?
So what's on your mind? How can we support you? This conversation is meant to be a dialogue. Yes, there is a monologue part of it, but it's meant to be a dialogue. We would love to hear your voice. How can we support you? What's on your mind? What are you working on? Do you have any questions on any of the tools? You know, anybody from the intensive have any thoughts or questions? Any refinements on the use of the tools? Anything specifically going on in your world that you could use some support with?
We have a hand up.
And let's say hello to a hand.
It's area code 314. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Hello, Michael and Jeannie. It's Doug. How are you?
Hey, Doug. Thank you, sir. We're doing well. We were talking about you earlier. I don't know whether you were there or not, but appreciating the fact that you did that conversion of the CDs or the cassette tapes to CDs and now to digital so that we can put them online. So,
yeah,
thank you.
I did hear that. You're welcome.
Cool.
Glad we've done it.
So what's on your mind today? What's happening in your world?
Well, I wanted to address, in a way, it's like you're talking about how traditional religion uses fear to try and get people to, quote, do the right thing or whatever by saying, well, you're going to go to hell, you know. And as you were doing so, I was thinking about the first question that kind of came. There's a couple of things here, and it spreads out and, you know, into a couple of different areas for me personally. Like I how does one not get upset? You know, sometimes I feel like, and yet speak the truth. You know, you talk about that, and it sounds sometimes to me like, and as you said, if you were to cut this section out and give it to a traditional preacher, they'd be pretty upset. And I feel like sometimes traditional Christians might be pretty upset when they hear that. I'm not sure if that's helpful or not, but that isn't my main point. It's more like that. I relate that to my present world with, say, the World Health Organization or the National Health people, or, you know, all these people who put down, let's say, implement strategies that provide funds to Pfizer and Moderna and suppress the health and well-being of people. For example, by suppressing the value of ivermectin, which there's 83 studies that shows how helpful it is for COVID, and almost any aspect of government that's similar, but that one's up for me a lot right now. And then disturbance arises in me. You know, I get very upset about that. Or
there's the key. Well, here's your lie. So here, let's stop right there. Here's your lie. I get very upset about that.
Yes, I'm in denial.
There's your mind in denial. So there's where your resolution lies. Because as long as you keep telling yourself that lie, that you're upset about that, you'll think that the disturbing frequencies and energies moving in your mind have something to do with the government and government manipulation. When you realize that, and I would just, when you look at that, a good way to go back and see maybe where it began is when you were manipulated by your power person. How did it feel?
Well, very similar and terrible. You know, I created in myself internal feelings of being oppressed and fearful and angry and upset, and, you know, there's injustice here.
So how do you tell the truth about something that you see without being upset? Here's how you do it. Actually,
That's
Richard
right.
gets upset at me in the book when I answer this question for him. He says, how do you do something like that and not be angry? Or who can do that? And my answer rolls along the line somewhere of someone who doesn't have anger in their mind does that. So my offering would be that you would be able to stand before the WHO. You could go make a presentation. And if you've cleaned up all the hostility and fear you have about being misled and manipulated by people in power, you would stand there and you would bring the presence of love and the energetic pattern and tone in your voice and the truth you would speak would permeate those minds in a way that they would have no option but to change. But as you go in there speaking your quote-unquote truth, you've oppressed me, you will create more of the same power person dynamic. In fact, you will become your power person. Notice the thing when if you had the opportunity to go confront the source of this whole story that you're talking about, notice that what you want to do to them, and I'm saying this without you ever telling me what it is you want to do, but I already know what you want to do. You want to do what your power person did to you that you hated the most around being manipulated. And that's what you do. That's what everybody does under stress, is whatever their power person did to them that they hated the most, that's what they want to do. And as you resolve that and pardon me, let me take this a different direction. Until that's resolved, you, Doug, and everyone who does that, we all do it to some degree with authority figures, that's one of the biggies on the planet, are a house divided against yourself. You want people to be in integrity and truth with each other, and yet notice the same abuse that was done to you is what, in your heart of hearts, if you were really in that type of response in there, that's exactly what you do to them, right?
And I'm sure that then I resonate their power person files, and I am becoming a power person relative to them, and I see that. I just know there's so much richness here for me somehow, somewhere, because I want to get all that out of me so that I can actually stand for truth in a way that doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, or shy from it, which is what I tend to do then. It's just, I won't say anything because.
Yeah. You want the key? Integrate conscious.
No.
Integrate conscious, active, present love into the part of your mind that holds this trauma.
Okay, I like that very much.
That's the key. Until that's integrated in that part of your mind, it's going to be hard to even bring up or talk about. And you'll notice that the same dynamic that is operating if you were standing in front of the officials at the WHO is exactly the same dynamic that operates in your closest relationships. And you can't talk about it. And you can't talk about it because there's so much hostility or fear that oozes from your field that it arouses, as you just described, the power person and dynamic and the person you're talking to. And then they have so much hostility or fear that now we got a wall and there's no more conversation possible. And as each person opens the space, and the breath is one of the keys to opening that space, of bringing conscious, active, present love into that part of the mind, then because love is present, there will be safety in that conversation and there will be healing in that conversation. But when love isn't present, it's just going to do more of the same. And, when we come together and with our matching bags of garbage, we're not willing to own, when we're doing a power person dynamic and be able to apologize for it and go, oh, wow, what I did there. When we're not able to do that because love isn't present, and if love isn't present, truth isn't present, it's not until the truth is told that love can possibly be present. And so when I stop letting those sneaky little lies come in, like, yeah, that really upset me. When I think about it, I don't remember exactly what those 3 or 4 words were that you just slid into that conversation. But when those words are no longer your regulatory speech, but your regulatory speech is, I see the truth of the hurt and the pain that I have around having been manipulated by people more powerful than me, people who are interested in control or money or stuff or power, whatever it is. That's the part of your mind that needs to be introduced to present love. And it'll begin to dissolve. And then you'll be the safe space. You will, instead of being a house divided against yourself, as Yeshua talked about, you'll be the safe space where those kind of conversations can open up. And then healing happens.
Integrate conscious active love as a part of the mind holds this trauma. That's what you said, I believe.
Yes.
Is right.
That's it.
All right.
Yes.
This trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, all of the above.
You can't keep that pain dissociated, and the way we keep it dissociated is by saying, yeah, and it really upset me. It really hurt me. That's how I keep that part of my mind in a dissociated. You'll remember when you first came to Heartland, and I used to teach the Y workshop, and I'd put on the board, when I taught the Y workshop, deny, suppress, project. I mean, for decades, that's how I taught it. And if it were just that it was suppressed, it wouldn't be nearly as big a deal, because I could just bring it to awareness. But it's not suppressed when I deny. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of something going on inside of me, I dissociate from what's going on inside of me. I literally make that part of my mind absolutely unavailable. And so when I just roll along in my conversation, I'm not censoring my speech, I'm not trying to say it the right way, and out of my mouth flows, yeah, and it just enrages me so much. Bingo. That's the dissociated content, and I need to open that dissociated part of my mind, that secret, hidden, locked away, not accessible to me part of my mind, and bring it forward in the presence of love. And I do that through forgiveness. I look at the goal that drives that perception that look what they've done to me, and all of the shades of that goal, and it might be 77 times 70 different shades of it. It might be the desire for them to honor me. It might be the desire for them to tell me the truth. It might be the desire for them to be responsible for their own integrity. It might be the desire for them to be responsible for their own well-being or their own abundance. It might be the desire for them to share wealth. There might be 1,000 variations on the theme, the goals that I hold that keep that part of my mind away from the presence of love through me. And when I cancel the goal, the specific one that is precisely what keeps that part of my mind in the dissociated state, and I cancel it, all of a sudden I can bring love to that part of my mind and a transmutation of the pained energy. I integrate, I dissolve the presence of pain, and now I'm no longer a house divided against myself, because the veil of my own temple in regard to that particular issue has been torn in two. And I've actually been able to access that part of me. And sometimes in accessing it, one of the reasons why we don't want to access it is because there's a lot of pain in it, especially if it's something that happened over and over and, seems to cost us dearly in our lives. It's like too much pain, too much trauma to deal with. And oftentimes the pain or trauma that I need to deal with isn't even just mine, but it's been going on for generations. Lifetimes, cultures destroyed over these kinds of dynamics. I think, and I might suggest, what is your genetic history, Doug? Are you Scottish?
There is some Scottish. There's
okay. Well, I'll tell you, around this kind of injustice, there's one movie that I've watched. I talked about it last week, actually, Braveheart, and there's one specific scene in it where the king, you've heard me talk about this before, I'm sure, but the king says to his henchmen, send in the Irish, because if you do this battle with arrows, the arrows cost us money. The Irish can go and get killed; they don't cost us anything. And I'll tell you, that opened such rage in me the first time I saw that in that movie, and I probably watched it 15 times in order to clean that vengeance and that rage out. It might be a good movie to sit down in front of with this whole conversation in mind and see what it resonates up for you. See if there's a genetic component for you with that, British, English, British and Scottish, perhaps Irish history.
It could be very well, because I've never watched that movie. I've always avoided it. I've always felt like I don't want to watch that. Whenever it comes in front of me, I'm like, no, I'm not interested. And I saw that clip. I saw that very clip recently, and I was like,
really?
I did.
Well,
I don't know.
How did you see that clip?
I can't tell you, but I remember seeing that clip and thinking, man, how...
Talk about synchronicity here, eh?
Yeah, so it's really a
I
trip.
think the universe is sending you a message, Doug.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sounds like it.
So I heard you say something that I don't think I have heard before, or I'm understanding differently or hearing differently. The goal, I've always understood that the goal is what causes the unconscious content to be coming forward and driving the conscious reality.
Actually forming the conscious reality. If you think of, remember when you were in school and maybe you played sports and you wanted to be recruited, and a recruiter came to the school and watched all the participants in the basketball team and picked three of the players, recruited them, took them into another place. That's how I perceive, or I see the goal. The goal, when you realize there are 10,000 measurable units of electrical activity firing off in the brain, and in that same time frame there is a little tiny bit that's recruited into conscious content, 9 bits out of 10,000. It's the goal that determines which players, which concepts are going to play. Is it going to be rage? Is it going to be fear? Is it going to be sadness? Is it going to be grief? Is it going to be loss? What's going to play here? And it's the goal that pulls that content into activity, and the end result of the activity of that content is perception, the world we see, the world of false perception that needs to be collapsed. And when you kick the recruiter out, when you cancel the goal, that whole perception, that whole construct of the mind collapses in on itself. Like the 9/11 towers collapsed in on their own footprint. And when what's conscious at one moment, when the goal is canceled and that conscious content collapses in on itself, now you've got direct access to the original event that created the traumatic energy. And as you can pull that forward in the presence of love, that's where the dissolution occurs. That's where the actual forgiveness occurs.
That piece that you've said, I've pretty much understood. However, what I heard you say is the goal keeps, I'm not saying what you said, the goal keeps that trauma part of my mind from love, dissociates that trauma part of my mind from love.
No, it's my denial. No, it's my denial that does that. When I say to myself, that really hurt me, what I'm saying is there's a part of my mind that's hurt, and I keep that hurt part of me away from love by repeatedly knowing that somebody or something out there is the cause of my hurt, and that's my denial. So it's the denial that keeps that very content from being exposed to love.
All right, I probably misheard your words then in this case, because that when I heard that, I was like, what? I understand that denial does that, it fills up my reality with some other story about it, that's driven by the dissociative concept. But I heard the goal keeps the trauma part of my mind from love, and I was like, I never heard that before. Let me ask for clarity, which you just gave me. It's the denial.
Yeah, the denial does that. The goal recruits it into activity so that if we'll engage in forgiveness, now we've got the opportunity to process through whatever that is, whatever that trauma, that original trauma is. And I may need to do that, all the shades of canceling around that one 77 times, 70 times. And as I said earlier, all those shades of goals. And it's not, we actually don't get to the key part of the dissociated content that needs healing until we find the precise goal that pulls that into activity. So, a lot of people will avoid. They'll say, well, I just wanted them to be nice to me. That was my goal. And what I really wanted was for them to be honest and have integrity with me. If we were to apply it to this current conversation around COVID and all. So until I went to that precise goal, because the mind works through resonance, because it's very exacting, it's very, very precise through resonance, unless I get the right frequency, I don't get the content. It's like sitting with my, late at night with my AM radio where all these signals are bouncing around. And unless I get that station tuned just exactly so, I get 3 other stations that come in on top of it. I don't get to get that specific content. And that's where tuning the goal and having the right goal is what's going to uncover that specific piece that's in need of healing. And it's that goal that the ego says, don't ever look here. Don't make me look at that. Boy, I'll slaughter you if you do that. Oh, you mean you're going to do what your power person did to you, to me, if I do that? Oh, okay, I got it.
And the thing that's being searched for is some kind of trauma. Generally, it's some kind of trauma that happened to me or my generation. That's being
actually, there's no search for that trauma. We're not suggesting that. Here's what we suggest you search for. You search for the thinking or the languaging that indicates that something out there is the cause of what's happening in here. And when I have that, then I locate the goal that drives that conversation. And when I cancel that goal, I will drop specifically into that unconscious content and bring it to the presence of love. And in bringing it to the presence of love is the release of the pain and the trauma, the healing, the actual forgiveness. And believe me, go ahead.
Whether or not the event comes to conscious awareness isn't so much relevant as is it.
Exactly. I may do nothing more than just breathe through and process the energy. I may never be able to put a word to what it was. It was just like, oh, it was so yucky. I don't know what it was. And I may not. Or I may do the process and go, let's say I'm working with someone and say, it just feels so yucky, but I don't have any idea what it is. But like Richard, we just said with the piece I was reading for Richard, it's like, well, I feel better. There may be no word for it. And then 3 days later, I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden I go, oh, that's what that was about. All of a sudden I go, oh, that was when blah, blah, blah. And I get the specifics of it. But I don't have to get any specifics. All I want to do is get the goal as tuned as I can, or use as many variations on the theme around the goal as I can find until I hit the right one that, opens that particular part of the mind. It's kind of like opening a safe. All the tumblers have to fall into place. The goal is the thing that gives you the right combination.
Very good. Okay.
Cool. And once I brought love to that part of my mind, I'll be able to go have that conversation that I thought I could never have with anybody.
Right. Excellent. Okay.
Good breath. Sounds like a layer process.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome. Appreciate the work you're doing, my friend. Good.
Thank you. Okay.
Good questions. Good input. All right. Well, anything else on your mind for today?
Yeah, we may. I don't know. See, we have 4 minutes left, but
Go for it.
As we were going through all this, I was thinking, what is then hell? It's like okay, the preacher's trying to say, well, I'm trying to protect you from hell, and I'm going to use these non-being content methods to try and get you to do what I think you need to do to stay out of hell. But there are, 1 in 10 people, I don't know, who have a near-death experience and wake up saying to the doctor, save me, I was just in hell. It's like, I was just curious, is that hell? Creation?
Look what Yeshua did. Remember they said he descended into hell.
Right.
What does it mean? You went through carbon-based memory where there was an absence of the presence of the love of God. Where love was not allowed. And the absence of that love is hell. And in order to step up to, metaphorically, what was called the kingdom of heaven, that is, return to the truth of being, he finished off the process that he started in the Garden of Gethsemane, the healing crisis he started there. And he had to go down into that part of himself and forgive and remove that which made absent. Or I should probably be more precise and make it appear that love was absent. Because love, of course, is never absent. But we can set up shields that block its awareness from us. And so remove that, and there's darkness. Jeannie, we've only got a minute or two, but we were doing some breath work a couple of weeks ago. Jeannie, do you want to just share that moment where you came back from that deep still point?
Yeah, it was. I actually came back. Usually when you're in the still point, you just wake up with sometimes a little start. But I came back with a gasp and a just great terror and sorrow, and it was like I had been jerked from love. I felt like, I was in this space. I compared it to the movie Matrix, where the people are in that state where they're still plugged in the back, and they're kind of like in a womb, and then they're, ejected and then unplugged. I said I felt like that, like I was in this safe, awesome, loving space, and then all of a sudden just became unplugged and jerked back. And it was just terror and sorrow that was unexplainable.
And for me, as the observer, it was clear it was right down to her genetic toes that she was touching into that.
Okay, so we would say that perhaps the hell they're experiencing is their non-being content that is devoid of love, and then something like that.
And thinking that's who they are. Yeah, buying into that definition of self.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Well, you have a blessed day. Appreciate everybody. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world, and we'll look forward to talking with you tomorrow. Blessings.